Excited.
Start recording.
Got it.
Okay, and we are live. Radio voice.
I know, right?
Okay, well, hello everybody, and welcome back today. I am very happy to be chatting with a dear friend and client of mine, Rach. Hello, Rach.
Hi,
Welcome.
everybody. Hi,
Thank,
Emma.
thanks for joining us today. I wanted to have a chat to you because I love how much you're doing in your career, and being an engineer, we all know, is a very male dominated industry, and you've had a very interesting career over the last however many years. So I thought, let's have a chat and find out how you have come through this journey and some of the key takeouts that you've found, and maybe you might have some advice for our future leaders. So thanks again for joining.
You're
Let,
welcome. Thanks for having me.
let's start with, like, what does your career look like? What do you do?
Okay, well, right now I'm actually starting a business in the coaching and development space, specifically focusing on the junior engineering workforce, purely based out of my own experiences. So when I was doing engineering, and well, I kind of do engineering part-time still. It can range. So there's three different areas in engineering that you can go into. You can be a consultant, this kind of like in office behind a desk. You can be in construction, which is out on site building the drawings that the people in the office made. Or you can be in operations and kind of dabble in a bit of the other two, but also you have the money. So you're funding the construction projects, and the consultants making the drawing. So I've actually worked in all three of those spheres, and actually your day to day looks different in each and every one of those.
And just
Um,
to, sorry, Rach, sorry to interrupt,
yeah.
just to confirm, what kind of engineering are you talking about
Oh,
specifically?
so I'm a civil engineer. So what we do is everything on the ground below mostly. So we'll do roads, bridges are kind of structural engineers. We kind of interface there a little bit. And then it could be utilities under the ground, and we interface with all the other different engineering types. For example, the fact that you get gas to your house, water to your house, electricity to your house, the civil engineer would make the trench for those pipes to go in, and then the other engineers would design the fact that the flows and all the other engineering stuff that I'm not fully aware about. All the other disciplines. The civils kind of more on the large scale, the macro side of things.
Yeah,
So
okay,
yeah,
brilliant. That makes sense. And then so when you go into civil
yes.
engineering, you can sit in different seats within civil engineering. That's what you were saying.
Correct. And I guess the way that I look at it is any engineering that you do, you could be a mechanical engineer, an electrical engineer, a civil engineer. You can still go into consultancy, you can still go into construction, you can still go into operations. And I think it's dependent on the lifestyle that you want. So you're still functioning in your engineering sphere, but your day to day might look different. So, for example, when I was in consultancy, I was actually using software to do stormwater drainage design and running iterations of a model to prove that it would work before it gets built. And then when I was in construction, I was taking those drawings and coordinating people, machines, and scheduling and procuring rocks and all sorts of things to build what was on that drawing. And when I was in operations, we're kind of actually in the asset integrity side of things, which is in simple terms, once something is built, how do you keep it going? How do you maintain it? So I kind of got a life cycle of the engineering world, specifically the civil engineering world.
Wow, that sounds like there's huge variety in
So
being a
much.
civil
I
engineer.
know. It is like you're kind of like a generalist. I'd say if you did electrical, in my mind, they're the most intelligent of engineers out there. I have major respect, but they kind of work in the unseen space, and they're very detailed. I'd assume there's variety, but it's quite niche. Sorry to all the electrical engineers out there if I'm completely doing your degree a disservice, but from my experience, civil engineering, yeah, it's a huge variety. No day is exactly the same. And you're not like a specialist in any one thing, but you kind of have to know a lot of everything.
Yeah, okay. And so how did you know you wanted to be an engineer? When did that become apparent to
Oh,
you?
this is such a good question. Okay, so I think I was kind of nurture. My dad's a mechanical engineer. So growing up, I guess I was exposed to a lot of physics at home. You know, like for example, I'd be in the kitchen, you know, year nine, year eight, whatever, however young I was. And dad will kind of throw sciencey questions at me, like, oh, if there was two cans in the sun and one's all black and one's white, which one would heat up quicker? You know, like just simple things like that. He would often bring work home as well. I think he was really busy back then. So what happened was sometimes I'd sit down and look at what he was doing and problem solve with him. And I really enjoyed that. And then I remember I was in year 10. I was actually sick from school one day and I was watching Mega Construction on TV. It was the Burj Al Arab in Dubai. And I saw that and I'm thinking, oh, that's like a soccer game right in real life because I grew up playing soccer. I captained my soccer team and I love team sports and I love the communication, the striving towards the goal, so to speak. And I just saw the engineering was so similar. You had different people working together to build something for the common good of others. And so I think from that moment, I was like, yep, I want to do civil engineering. And you might not know this, but civil engineers and mechanical engineers have like this age old, I guess, rivalry. So my dad was a bit upset that I chose civil engineering and kind of begrudgingly accepted that that was my choice. And yeah, so that's kind of why I got into engineering. I think it was really in simple ways to help people, and I hated medical things. I couldn't handle blood, probably had mild hypochondria. I would think that I had everything that I saw. So engineering was a kind of a way to help people, but not to be so close to people at the same time.
That makes complete sense. And your dad
Yeah.
must have been like, you've gone to the dark side.
Pretty much. No, no, no. I think it was hilarious. Actually, honestly, I'll never forget this day. I went to Curtin's open day and I was probably like 16 or 17 years old. Um, and I go home, I've got all of these brochures, and I'm like, Dad, I'm going to do civil engineering at Curtin University. And he, Indian man, mustache, really scary looking, kind of didn't give me anything, completely like nothing. Was kind of watching TV, kind of like does a big sigh. And he says, okay, so I'm 17 years old, remember? And he says, well, I guess when you're having children, you can sign drawings off from home. That's and I'm thinking to myself, I'm 17 years old. I am not thinking about, a future family. But you know what? I think he obviously knew things back then that I didn't know now. And fast forward, I'm 31 now, and I can see where he's coming from. But I think at that age, you're not really thinking that far ahead.
Mm.
What I have grown to understand over time is that, like I said, consultancy is a different lifestyle. It's a lot easier on the body, whereas construction is really physically demanding and emotionally demanding. And that was quite strenuous for me. That's why I kind of got out of it. But every personality is different. Just because I've had that experience doesn't mean someone else will have that experience either. I think we're all just built a little different.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. Okay, so you knew at school that you wanted to study engineering,
Yeah,
and so
probably
you
year
went,
nine.
okay, that's awesome. A lot of people don't
Yeah.
know what they want to do that early on, so
I think
that's
choice
a
makes
huge,
it difficult. I think,
yeah.
I mean, back then it wasn't like we had lots of influences in our face every day. I kind of was like, well, I like soccer. I'm exposed to engineering. I like that. I'll give it a go. I'll do it.
Yeah.
Like there was no other option for me. I think when I did my preferences, I had psychology in there. Um, I think I had physiotherapy in there because that was also physics based and wasn't like too medical. But yeah, engineering was right up there. Also, I don't know if you have ever had this before, but you go through like a little questionnaire in year nine or year 10, and it tells you what types of um, like vocations that you would be good at.
Yeah.
So engineering and architecture was up there somewhere. So
Okay, so it was well aligned with your personality.
I assume so, or I was nurtured into thinking that way. Because right now I'm in the coaching and development space, which is completely like teaching. So it's very interesting.
Yeah. And
It's been a journey.
I think that's a really good point as well, because just because you studied something and you start your career in one way doesn't mean that you're stuck with that forever. You know,
No, not at
you're
all.
now leveraging that skill set and moving into different direction as your personality grows and as you move
Correct.
through life in a different way. So I think that's really cool too. So
I love the engineering industry though, and so I think what I love about the niche little pocket that I've made is that I want to help people be the best engineers that they can be and to enjoy their job. And I don't think I could have done that if I just stayed in one company.
Mm.
The satisfaction you get from making a decision out on site and seeing it happen pretty much within half an hour, and physically knowing that you were part of something like a water pipeline going somewhere or a pathway to help people when they're walking around a park. It's so cool. Um, and it's really liberating. I don't know, kind of, yeah, it was really cool. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I can totally get that. That would be addictive. You want to work on project after project because you can see it all coming to life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And so tell us what you do now. So you're coaching in the engineering space. Why you said that you've moved into that because of the experience that you had when going into engineering. Can you tell us more
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that?
Okay, so I think I need to go back a little bit to say about year nine, year 10. It was a really pivotal time for me. I'd say that um, I was intelligent, like I was smart, but I was also at a school that wasn't very testing. And so when I decided that I wanted to do engineering, I actually moved school to a more academic school. I was on the waiting list for that. And I would get 80 to 90% at my school number one. And then when I went to school number two, I actually was failing 45%. Like it was a huge shock to my system, especially considering my dad and my mum are really highly qualified people. I kind of, it took a really huge mental toll on me. I literally lost all of my confidence. I didn't think I was very intelligent, didn't think I was smart enough. And I was working against myself right up until probably my fourth or fifth year in the industry. So that really stuck with me. It was a huge defining moment, like a core memory moment for me. So I guess the fact that I even scored a TER to get myself into engineering was a huge deal. And I think I always assumed that everybody else was better than me, smarter than me. So my best friend actually, she got the Women in Engineering Scholarship for Curtin University, had a whole degree paid for. I think she was in like I think she got like 99.35 for her TER score at the time. It's ATAR now. And like being around these people every day for the first for like year of my degree, I just thought I wasn't meant to be there. I didn't think I had the right personality. I thought like I'm in the wrong sphere. Like this is not for me. I cannot tell you how bad my self-talk was. It was terrible, like so bad. And I think if there was anything that I could share from that pivotal age is be aware of what you're saying to yourself, because someday down the track you're going to have to undo it. So you might as well just make it easy for yourself now, just kind of work on it as soon as possible. So I took that kind of mental back chatter, so to speak, into my career. So I graduated in 2013 from engineering. Surprisingly, never failed a unit. I don't really understand what happened there, but we all pulled each other through, all of our friends at uni. And yeah, I didn't actually score any jobs. Yeah, I applied for many, many positions, but there was a downturn in the economy. So there was the bus cycle. So it was really hard to find work. And I took that very personally. I thought that was a reflection on my abilities. So when I did land my first job, I worked 150% to kind of almost prove to myself and everyone else that I was meant to be there. Pro tip, not a great motivation to have, but it's not sustainable, but it did get me through for a period of time there.
Mm.
Um, so I've gone into the coaching and development space because I don't think I'm the only one that thinks that way. I think there's a lot of things when you're jumping into engineering that qualification or a degree, a TAFE course can only teach you so much. Like you learn probably the majority on the job. So if you don't have sufficient support or someone to check in on how you're thinking about yourself, you can really go on a tangent. So yeah, you got your technical side, you got your relational side with yourself, like how you speak to yourself, how we interact with each other, and then you got your operational side, how do you use the computer and how do you do things efficiently. And a professional engineer isn't just fully technical. I mean, to be fair, I didn't even score that well for maths and physics, but I get to compensate with my perseverance and personality. So yeah, I hope I know that's extremely long-winded, but it's honest. It's yeah, kind of my story, so to speak.
I don't, yeah, it's such a strong story as well. Oh, there's so much to unpack there. So
I know,
even
I know.
it's
Yeah.
it's so true. The imposter syndrome of we all get it. We all get it. and to
Yeah.
walk in somewhere. And it's interesting because I've started to change my mindset on imposter syndrome, but it's taken me a really long time to
Yeah.
realize that when you feel like you're in an environment where you don't fit, if you don't feel like you're good enough, that's actually it's a good sign, because it means that you're around a very strong collective of people that you are going to learn from and you're going to thrive with. So
100%. Yeah.
if you're surrounding yourself by everyone that you already know that you can outperform, then how is that going to help you get better? So let's flip that narrative. Let's not be scared of it. Let's embrace it and go, this is really cool. If I feel like I'm out of my depth right now, that is such a temporary feeling. That is right now, and this is me about to learn and about to excel and grow to match these
Exactly.
people around me. Yeah, definitely. And so
Yeah. And you know what? Oh, you go for it.
no, I was just going to say, so applying for jobs and not getting them, that would be really hard to take if you're already feeling a little bit
Oh,
uncertain, right?
yeah.
What did you ever feel like it was all just too hard, and you wanted to just give up at that point and go and do something different?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a really good question. So in my final year of uni, I like submitted my thesis and I was pretty disorientated from like the whole 4 year experience. It was so much fun. It was really difficult. But then there was also pretty like, oh, holy moly, like, is this what I kind of want to do for the rest of my life kind of thing? So my best friend that I spoke about before, she actually threw like a end of year, end of graduation party for uni, and by that point, I was like, nah, sorry, I didn't go to that. I just didn't go. I actually flew myself to Melbourne to visit my cousins over there and had a mini existential crisis and was wondering, like, oh my gosh, like, is this, was it all worth it? What am I doing? And I think I just needed that time away to reset and
Mm,
remove myself from a really chaotic environment to then be like, actually hold, like, can you imagine you've got this qualification now, this piece of paper that says that you are a certified engineer and you can function as an engineer in the industry. What good could I do with that? So much. And I didn't want to let my temporary feelings govern a long-term decision. So I took what time I needed and kind of reset my brain and got back into it. And what I did actually was I worked for my university engineering outreach. So what we did was created really fun activities and took them to year 9 to year 12 students at school to inspire them towards a career in engineering. And so that was a really good way for me to still stay connected, but not as involved as it would be for a day-to-day job kind of
mm,
thing. I focused on my CV and I realized, actually, Rach, like, this is what I was saying to myself, Rach, your final year at uni was extremely difficult. You, at one point in time, had 7 exams and 14 assignments within like a month or 3 weeks or something ridiculous. I remember we all counted it. We're like, how is this even like allowed kind of thing? But you know what? It prepared us for the industry, just that insanity of assignments and stuff. And I realized that how can I expect myself to be able to dedicate 100% of my effort to my degree, then to my CV, then to my interviews? I just wasn't able to handle that at the time. And that's okay. So in that gap extended period of time, so we're talking 2014 now, um, I just worked for Curtin Uni and I really focused on my CV. I took a hard look at it and I was like, oh yeah, I wasn't communicating very well. I kind of half threw this together. Okay, let's structure it better. Let's format it better. So I realized that much like any communication barrier, it wasn't really a reflection of me. It was a reflection of how I was communicating myself. Um, Pretty big life lesson there in the scheme of things. And so yeah, then I got heaps of interviews after that. And that's how I kind of landed my jobs.
how good is that? So I've got two key takeouts from that conversation. The
Tell me.
first one, but just to summarize it, the
Yeah,
first one is really taking that space and being aware when you know that whether you're at uni or you're in a job or whatever life's throwing at you, you have those times where you just feel like everything is just too much, and to recognize that the decisions you're making are not actually the best decisions right then because you're not in a good headspace, and taking that
yeah,
step out, so important. what
yeah.
what a difference that made. Did you reach out to your community? Did you have sort of like a support network that you bounced off? So you were doing
No.
this all alone as well, processing all of this for
Yes.
yourself.
Yeah. I think that's a lot to do with the way that my family is structured. I think we learn a lot of I don't know, behaviors, I guess, with our family dynamics. Didn't really share what I was going through with many other people. I probably, in a way, must have. I just can't remember. It was a bit of a blur, to be honest. I think there was a couple of friends at university who I was really close with that I think I might have shared kind of the struggles that I was going through during university, but maybe not specifically about questioning my choice of degree.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the other one was the communicating with conviction, and that's something that everybody has come through the Future Female Leaders program has learnt, is the power of communicating with persuasion and influence. And so step number
Correct.
one is knowing what it is that you're trying to communicate and really believing in that. And the second
Mhm.
part of that is projecting that. And so that's a real life example of why it's so important to
100%.
practice these
Yeah.
skills. Yeah.
And I'd like to add that over my career, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this coaching and development business and have this really unique approach to it is because maybe as women, we kind of have this kind of like radar and we're always pinging out and looking for feedback, potentially more than our male counterparts. I'm not sure. I'm not a male. um, and so I never was getting that feedback loop that I needed. So I assumed that I wasn't doing things right. I had to work harder. So then I naturally burnt out quicker. When you have 10 energy beams a day, like where are you going to spend them kind of thing. And so I wanted to provide an environment of that you could get that feedback loop as quick as possible and have that soundboard there. Because towards maybe my fifth to 10th year out of university, I kind of started seeing how much I'd learned and I was getting feedback loops because I was contributing and I was seeing people being like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. And so I realized my confidence was building because people were telling me that what I was doing was good. Why does it have to happen 5 years out into your career? You know, like that can happen a lot early if you're in the right environment, if you choose wise counsel, if you choose wise people to be a speaking voice into your life. Obviously, not everyone is a good choice to have to encourage you. You need to pick your people. Um, but if you have a professional who um, is an engineer that says, yep, you're on the right track, this is really good work, then you know what to do. And then you kind of have your bumper bars to guide you. Um, and yeah, I think that's a really long way of kind of probably got off track. But it's yeah, getting that feedback loop early. Oh, I remember now. So I've learned ways to give myself that feedback loop. I've learned some structures. So whilst I got that in the early days from other people, I found out some mechanisms that I can give that to myself, and that's what I'm kind of including in my workshop content. Kind of equipping people to be self-sufficient. Even though we're human, we need other people to input into our life. It's not 100% their responsibility to do that for us. So we need to work out, you know, tools and tips to self-learn and self-encourage and self-equip, really.
Yeah, that what a thing to learn to do, because you can have your we really believe at Future Female Leaders, we really believe in community, and we really believe in having that support network. So having the mentoring, having the people to go to for guidance, very, very important, but they're not always available right then in the moment or necessarily in your workplace. So they can be outside your workplace. Has there anything that you could share as a quick tip for anyone if they're finding themselves in a situation where they're not getting any feedback and they need to self soothe a little bit?
Yeah, okay. Well, what I've really learned is quite effective is to slow your breathing down, believe it or not. Pro tip one would be go find a space away from your current environment. That could be going for a walk, like getting a nice soothing hot drink, and then focusing on slow breathing. So your parasympathetic breathing, you can research that. And then you kind of introspect. So you'll be like, okay, well, what am I feeling? Well, I'm feeling a little bit insecure. Okay, well, why am I feeling insecure? Well, I'm not too sure that the work that I'm doing is helping other people. Okay, and then you just actually you go outside of yourself and you put yourself on the other side and say like, oh, if this is what someone was doing for me, how would I feel? And then you kind of get perspective. So you give yourself perspective on yourself. And then you realize, okay, well, let's go back to my why. Well, why am I doing this? I want to help people. Well, I'm helping people because I'm showing up. And you tell yourself that you're meant to be there, that what you're doing is helping people, if that's your motivation. And then you kind of go through a little bit of a checklist and go through that process, so to speak. Very in simple terms, it's go for a walk, get some space, change your environment, reflect and introspect, and then take a look from the outside in, really.
Wow. That could be a game changer in those moments where you're just full of self-doubt and overwhelm, especially when you're going into something new. Yeah.
Yeah,
Super good
yeah,
advice. Thank you,
yeah.
Rach.
You're welcome. And actually, just to add on that, probably one thing that I'd suppose, yeah, sorry, add to that would be ask yourself if your expectations are realistic on yourself. Like when you're introspecting, is it reasonable? For example, there was one project that I was working on. It was meant to be two work fronts. What I mean by that is two crews working separately and progressing forward in a construction project. That turned to five work fronts, so five crews doing work, and we didn't change the management team. It was the same size, and that was really overwhelming. And I didn't have realistic expectations on myself back then. I thought that I should just be able to work it out, that while they're paying me to do this job, I'm meant to be able to do this. In hindsight, what a realistic expectation to have on myself. And it, yeah, didn't give me the best look on myself. But in hindsight, yeah, understandable. It was pretty hectic and unrealistic.
Wow. Yeah, it's another really good point. Absolutely. And so, what does the future look like for you now? Are you still passionate about the engineering industry?
Yeah, I am. So actually still working in there. I start my new job tomorrow, 1 day a week, because I really want to get this business up and running. I believe it within the core of my being. It's going to help the most amount of people. Um, so I love to stay connected. I often go back to universities and share my experiences. So I do stay connected, and it might not be in the technical day to day, but yeah, I love the industry. It's really good.
Yeah, that's cool. And any final advice for anybody that's thinking about going into engineering and that, they're only in their finishing years of school at the moment and tossing and turning about what they should do? Any final word?
Yeah, go for a drive. Go around and look at the school that you're in, the roads that you drive on, the utilities that you use, and the buildings that you see, and decide if you want to be part of that getting built for the future civilization and community that you're in. If that's how you see yourself helping the society or serving the community, then go for it.
Yeah. Ah, awesome advice, Rach. It's been so good to chat. Thank you for sharing all of this with us. If
Thank
the
you for
girls want
listening to me.
to, of course. If anybody wants to reach out and say hello, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, that's cool. I'll give you my email address and they can reach me out on that. Yeah,
Awesome. I'll pop it in with the description when they're watching the video. Oh,
perfect.
so good. Thanks, Rach.
You're welcome.
I'm going to hang up now. No, I'm going to stop recording.